Welcome back, guys. This is the return of the TGC podcast. I know it's been a little bit, but tonight we have a legend in the house. No bullshit. This man is an absolute effing legend, and I am excited to sit down and talk a lot of different stuff tonight. For those of you that don't know, the man to my screen right is somebody that has been rapping since the early 90s. At one point held the record, I believe has been usurped at some point, but at one point held the record for the fastest rapper alive and has put out album after album after album, millions of views. And now he is pushing into the gun community. Everybody say hi to Twista. Twista, how are you, brother?
How are y'all? What's up? What's up? What's up, John? How you doing, man?
I am so freaking excited to sit down and chat with you. I have been eager to pick your brain since we started linking up and I started seeing what you're doing. Can you tell me what it's like being in two very, very different circles of life? You know, you have the celebrity side of things, like you've worked with and continue to work with some of the highest profile rappers out there who, you know, are very, very different people than, you know, what's in our community here in the gun community. And you've started pushing for gun safety and all that. Like, how does that all come together for you? Where did that start?
It's a weird world. I feel like a unicorn. So yeah, it's a weird world. I mean, how to start? Well, as far as me getting into the community, it started with me wanting to protect myself, you know, being,
Okay.
in the city I'm from, wanting to protect myself and feeling the need to carry a concealed firearm, for self-protection. So I started to ask around for a trainer or an instructor. And that's how I ended up meeting Eddie Tactical.
Okay. Sure.
So he didn't only train me to, be able to carry. What he also did was kind of ignite a spark. He kind of ignited my passion for guns on a certain level. I was already passionate about it, from a child, just from the aspect of looking at them and being interested in them, but didn't know too much about them. But once I started to train, and then Eddie took it a step beyond the course itself and made me really kind of get into it. And I was very passionate about it. And then after a while, that passion started to linger because of my music, and then this whole thing happened with COVID. And that's when I really dove back into it because I had time to sit down. So these passions started to ignite again. And that's when I started to train to become a concealed carry instructor from my buddy, Creative Scott, and him training me to do that. And man, it just took off from there. I just didn't stop. But the reason I said it's a weird space is because once we started to get back outside and I started to get back into my normal life, the balance between the two and how to juggle both of them. And then I started to have certain passions like, wow, let me, like there was one way I thought about firearms growing up, seeing what I saw. And then also seeing what's around me, there was a certain perception. So once I started to train, it changed my perception of firearms, which also changed the way I think a little bit. And when that happened, it made me want to bridge that gap between my, or should I say, people around who were interested in firearms, but maybe had a negative perception or their interest was something that it shouldn't be when it came to firearms. And you could see that passion in certain people and you would be like, what a trick it would be, or should I say, what positive move it would be to be able to take that person or talk to that person and transform their perception about firearms into something else. And they still stay passionate about it, but now that passion ignites a new wave of thinking.
Well, I mean, isn't that the ever-present goal, especially in cultures outside of rural America? When you start getting into the city and what I refer to as hood culture, there is like a lot of negative about firearms.
Yeah.
Do you feel like you're starting to actually push through that shit, or are you still catching resistance as you kind of share this mentality that you've gained? Do you feel like you're hitting resistance as you're kind of educating other people?
I hit some resistance, but not a lot, because I don't think I've been in the presence of that element yet, like that full element that's not really about that life. I haven't been around that element yet to the fullest. So I have met some resistance, but as far as me moving around the way I move around, and when I encounter people and we start to talk about it or have dialogue, I'm very passionate about it, and they can see and feel that energy. And when I'm talking to them about it, it's like, man, you know what? I never thought of that. Or, wow, Twista, you just taught me something. Or that they start to look at things different because I'm able to relate to them, so to speak.
Sure. Yeah. And I've said for a long time, there is a whole group of people that, based on perception alone, would not listen to what I have to say.
Yeah.
Just because of who I am. And I think the same goes the other way, that there are people, that would prefer to hear from you. And I think it's amazing to watch that sort of growing, within, I've been involved in the gun industry for about like 10, 12 years ish, something like that. And to see the difference in culture shifting in just that short period of time, and what I mean by that is we're seeing more and more and more of, I want to defend myself. I want to defend myself against, the neighborhood threats, but also tyranny and things like that. I think it's incredible to see guys like yourself stepping up and being like, you know what, guys, some of these songs that were very popular are full of shit, and it's time to be responsibly armed and educated about it. That's kind of awesome.
Yeah.
Do you feel like that culture is shifting around you?
Yeah, I like it exactly how you said that. That's how I feel. I'm like, wow. So we rock out to a lot of these songs, but then in terms of songs being able to aid in the education of firearms, I think, wow, we said a lot of dumb shit in records. But if you look at it for what it is, good music, and you're able to separate your mind from it, that's one thing. But also, I thought it would be very, very dope to be able to change that and rap about it in a different way. And I'm like, wait a minute, now I'm Twista. I'm able to rap about anything. You can bring any topic or subject up, and I'm able to come up with something. So why can't I rap about a gun instead of just going shoot them up, bam, bam? Be like, let me explain to you about this barrel, or this speeding ramp, or let me explain to you what an extractor claw is, or, just to be able to even do a gun review rap style.
I've seen it. Those are effing amazing.
Yeah.
Guys, you need to check out his social media to see more of that, because unfortunately, YouTube won't allow me to share that kind of stuff without a copyright strike. However, go watch it. It's awesome. So let me ask you this. Have you, in this culture shift that we're talking about, have you had any of your higher profile friends reach out to you and either question what you're doing or inquire to know more? Are you seeing that? Like, how's that perception been between your friends?
For sure. It makes them, I would say it makes them more interested. It helps them get education about certain things that they've been wanting to ask questions about. And certain people that I know that I didn't realize were into firearms or part of the community would light up when I say certain things. To meet certain individuals who may have interviewed me, or certain celebrities, and they would be like, oh man, I need to get with you. I got a bunch of ARs. Or to see this person, and they're like, oh yeah, you would be shocked. I would see a certain singer or something like that, and they'll be like, yeah, Twista, I see what you're doing. We need to get in the range together. And I'm like, oh really? So man,
that's kind of amazing. Honestly, it's almost like in Hollywood and all of these, celebrity industries, it's almost like not guilty pleasure is not the right way to say it. It's sort of this like behind the curtain kind of thing that I think there are a lot more pro-gun celebrities than will admit it because
Oh,
of the backlash.
yeah. And I think, a lot think about the backlash probably because they don't know how to express it, you
Sure.
know, even more so than not willing to express it. Just don't know how to express it in a way that is acceptable. Whereas, me, my passion about it was so fierce that I don't know, I was able to morph it with what I think of and or how I think about music and just find a way to push it out there that I felt was acceptable to people because I felt it was important. So
I think it's kind of fascinating that you're coming at it from a perspective of education entirely, like from the core of what you're talking about. It's there's no doubt in me that there's a passion there, and that's really interesting because you don't ever. Yeah, I mean, before you, I'm not aware of any celebrity that has gone to the lengths that you've gone to educate people on firearms. You see, every once in a while, somebody will take a stand, and I think that's very interesting to watch somebody make a single comment.
mhm.
But to see you sort of standing on a soapbox that is being pro gun and pro freedom, that's fascinating. Um, what do you think is something that you would say to Tongue Twista back in 1992, knowing what you know now about firearms?
Ooh, something that I would say back then is ooh, that's a good one.
Yeah, like what would you
I
say to
would
yourself?
I would say be more thoughtful about what you say in your songs about firearms. Be very mindful and more thoughtful about what you say about a firearm and the perception of it in your songs. Because I feel like a lot of times we carry on that negative vibe, that negative wave in terms of what we think about them. Because I think, especially in my community, on sight, you see gun, boom, you instantly think crime, negativity, or robbery, murder. These things come to your mind, and it's really freaky to swerve your head around and see gun and think, "Ooh, Cerakote." What you
I think we lost him for a second there. Wait for it.
see me?
Uh, Are you back? I heard you for a second.
I think I'm coming back.
Okay,
Am I
there we
there?
go.
Okay, I'm sorry. I think I had a Wi-Fi issue.
That's all
Wi-Fi
right.
issue. Okay. So what was the last thing you heard?
I you were talking about the perception that you would tell yourself as a young guy to kind of shift the perception. I mean, we've the amount of bullshit in rap videos, doing this sort of thing, this sort of bullshit, whatever that is, to a camera is kind of amazing. It's kind of amazing to see this almost internal need for people to put that image forward. I
Mhm.
think it's kind of weird that the culture around rap has always, at least, I was born in the 80s, so from my mind, that from very early on, I guess since maybe like the early 90s with the sort of rise of gangster rap, seeing that and seeing this this just like need to point a gun at a camera and sort of put forth the image that that person is a threat. Like, don't mess with me, I'm a threat. Do you think that it's possible for someone to put that image forth and also be like responsible at the same time? Do you think that's even like something that can coexist? I know it exists already, like yes, of course it does, but do you think that's possible to exist within one person?
Within one person, it would be kind of crazy, and then you would have to get very specific and detailed in when you talk about the subject of pointing the gun in a certain direction. You know, it's how it's done. So I would say that a lot of what you see is what's been learned. Like, trust me, if it was just readily available, the universal safety rules and how to handle firearms was just readily available instead of Scarface or what we may see in a movie, then you may have a different perception and a different way that they are handled. So you got to know, like, if you want to look badass with the gun, one of the best ways to look badass with the gun is to look like you know what you're doing with it. So this is what has been learned. And so this is the negative to people not being able to exercise their rights to bear arms, which take away their right to train as well. So you got people or young guys that's flailing guns around. You got one thing that's that where they're growing up and their perception and just life in general, but then you have this other thing with how to handle a firearm. It's being handled with in a way that they see. So they're doing what they saw the big homie do, or what they saw on the movie, or what they hear to do. This is what this feels correct. When you see the gun, it tells you grab it with the finger in the trick. You know what so it feels correct. My whole thing is about like, hey, everybody, whoa, we got this all fucking wrong. This is the way you need to handle it. Wait, do you know you aren't supposed to point? Did you know you aren't supposed to put your finger on that trigger until you like, you know? So these are the things that like I'm screaming and whooping and hollering about, and it's really just like a big blessing that I got this much passion about it, because that's what it's going to take to kind of change that perception of what's been going on. I think just the education about a firearm alone changes a little something, and then comes the next step and the next step. And just like football, basketball, any other sport that you may do that people or kids get into, and it changes the way they think, and now they're better on in life. I think the same thing in the 2A community, the same thing with the shooting sport, the same thing with learning about firearms. It can help change a kid to look at life in a better view.
I think you're first of all, you're spot on with starting with the youth, because you can change, what happens in 10 years by educating the youth and not indoctrinating them into some absurd stuff that is going on in public schools, but rather allowing people to think for themselves and showing them, that firearms can be an amazing thing, both for defending oneself, but also for fun. Like, holy shit, guns are fun. Like, look at all this crap behind me. This stuff's all a riot. It's great.
Hey, you mean to tell me they like these holsters I make? They want to buy some? Okay.
Right.
It'd
be really interesting, and maybe this will be something that's more prevalent, 5 years from now, is, when we look forward, perhaps, and please feel free to jump in on this, but maybe we'll start to see what is arguably rap culture has driven a lot of things here in the US. Maybe what we'll start to see through folks like yourself is that rap culture not only educating people, but also making its way into the stylizing of accessories and things that go in basically the firearms to begin with. Do you think that's even possible? Do you think that's something that could come?
Yeah, I'm working on it now. Wait till me and you talk when we later when we get off of this, and I start to play some jams for you when we talk, and then we chop it up like this again, and you get to tell everybody Twista played the damn songs for me. Like, man, the man literally broke down this, so that's the type of concept that I want to bring to this whole thing, is like to tell another artist, like, did you know how dope the word staccato sounds to rhyme something with it? Do you know how cold it sounds if you say CZP10F? You know what I mean? Zasta. You know what I mean? So to be able to use these words is like, you don't know. Like, for me, I found a whole new vocabulary to play with. So it's like for a rapper, it's like a kid in a candy store. I got to
think of that.
Words. Yeah, Picatinny Rail? Really? You know what I mean? So yeah, I got a lot of good stuff to play. I got a lot of stuff that I'm recording and working on that I feel like is going to be a great bridge between music, hip hop and rap specifically, and the 2A community that I think will be a great bridge for the positive in terms of firearms and training and just safety and everything overall.
Sure. So I got to know,
Mm-hmm.
you're from Chicago,
Yeah.
arguably one of the most violent cities in terms of crime in the world, arguably, and definitely here in the U.S.
Oh yeah.
Have you had an opportunity to sit down with Lori Lightfoot and tell her that she's a complete and utter moron, or is there no dialogue? Like, what is your stance on Chicago's gun regulations and things of that nature?
I mean, I've never met her, and a lot of times, I hate the gun laws in Illinois. Let
Sure.
me say that. Let me start by saying that I hate the gun laws in Illinois because it's against what I believe is the perception people should have about firearms and whether we should carry them or own them and everything else. So it's not necessarily the person that I may have a problem with. A lot of times it may be a party or the actual laws or things that may be anti what I'm about, or, in terms of my protection or my lifestyle or financial ability and things of that sort. So I would hope that in the future we could do something to change some of these laws and change the way Illinois is, because I don't want to have to move out of Illinois or, leave Illinois and not enjoy the state the way I really want to. So I would hope that in the near future, we're able to do something to make the state more like the surrounding states.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, and I try to keep it as positive as I can, because I know with this platform that I have and what I'm doing right now, and it's so new, and I know the route I want to go, but sometimes I can't see fully in front of me. The one thing I don't want to do is step off into the wrong pot or step off onto the wrong piece of glass. So I try to express myself as positive as I can, but as truthful as I can, you know, so you can get the point, and I want everybody to listen. As soon as I say or do one thing too far, now they don't want to listen no more. I want everybody to listen. So I try to be very good with my choice of words to make sure that I keep the attention of everybody, so that when I have something to say, I know I got your ear.
I
And
think that's very admirable, and
but it's gonna be 2A.
well, I think it's great that you actually are thinking that way, because
Yeah.
there's so many of us, myself included. Like I tend to be pessimistic. I tend to be a negative person, and I tend to also just be harsh with the way I speak. And to know that we have people in our community like yourself that are aware of how to reach more people, that's a very good thing. That's something to have in our collective toolbox that I think we need absolutely more of. And speaking of that, so you are doing your stuff with Second Amendment positivity. Yeah, put that on a fucking t-shirt. I think I want to know who else you think is doing really positive things for communities outside, like the hood communities. Who do you think is reaching them right now, and who should we be paying attention to?
One of the people that come to mind as soon as you said it is my man RGG, a regular gun guy. He has his channel, and I like the community that he brings. I like the dialogue, and the topics range from so many things. I really like that whole vibe. And everybody loves Coleon. I feel like he's
Sure.
one of the important people in the 2A community doing his thing. There's a lot of people, so many people, man. And that's what we're trying to do, is bring that whole vibe. It's so many people I could think of.
Sure. Yeah, I think it's really interesting. As we've seen in the last few years, especially since COVID, we've
Mm,
seen this rise of first time gun owners and people that are starting to not just like say, oh, I want to defend myself, because that's easy, but this rise in passion is kind of amazing. And I think what we're going to see even more is, as a result of that, more content creators being positive about firearms, and more personalities pop up that are more positive about firearms. And I I don't know what is going to happen in 5 years, especially with politics how they are. But man, am I eager to see the positivity grow.
Yeah, and it's hard to push, because of the subject matter itself. It's hard to talk about in a positive light. So the reason I use that word so much is because we we want to push the Second Amendment as far as we can push it, and we got to know when to swing, and then we got to know how to do it peacefully. And so that's what I mean when I say positive, because sometimes you got to kick the doors down too. So I just want to know when to swing and when to walk in peacefully, because I really want to push it. Like I said, the Second Amendment, but really it's our God-given right. But still, we want to let people know that, and people realize it's not just a net, or should I say not just, but people realize it's not a negative thing when we talk about firearms. You could talk about firearms in so many aspects. The first thing that comes up doesn't always have to be self-defense, like you said.
Right. Right. So I made a video a few years ago, and I believe the title was something like "When Shall Not Stops Working." And the general idea with that was that we as a community can't just stomp our feet and say "shall not" and expect the opposition to listen to that.
Right.
It's very much like a child's tantrum. What do you think is the thing that will carry us forward in terms of Second Amendment on a grander scale than we have now? Like, what types of conversations should we be having? How should we approach those things? So there's people out there watching, hopefully right now, that are looking for, what do I say? What do I do? How do I bridge that gap? What would you tell those people?
You bridge the gap by finding new and diverse ways to communicate with people, because one of the biggest things we talked about earlier is the youth. So I think one of the biggest things is getting through to the youth, and then also perception. I think we have to affect the perception of firearms. A lot of times people don't realize that when they speak on their opinions, they may be coming from a place of trauma. It may be something that happened in their past, or something they've seen or heard, that occurred, that may give them that opinion about that household, or why you shouldn't have a firearm. And then even in the other way. But I think once you change the perception and you make a person who says no, 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 I think if that person really could put themselves in certain positions mentally, and realize and see that in some cases how many things can be stopped if I just had a gun.
It's
You
kind of
know,
amazing.
yeah, it's kind of amazing. I mean, there's a whole, I don't want to describe the whole despicable act, but there's this whole despicable act going down, that just one, even with a miss, one shot can make them all scatter like roaches, and it's over. So I think, that argument with should or shouldn't is a hard argument. And I think one of the ways to do it is through the youth, because like you said, when people see a different face explaining it, you walk in the door and it's like, okay, let me see who's talking about a gun now. And soon as you walk in the door, you see me standing there with the shiny watch on, and some of my lyrics and everything, and you can turn up with me, and then I'm able to lean into you and have a great conversation with you about guns and the community, and talk about it from a whole aspect that you never heard of. Then it's like, I think it's groundbreaking. So I think the face needs to be different sometimes when you are listening to these. And like I said, different ways, different. I'm sure when people say, why do you need an AR? You hear a bunch of answers. sometimes we need to tell people so I can, do you curse on here?
You can curse. Go ahead.
So I can shoot the motherfucker that might in here try to shoot everybody else with their AR. Is why I need one. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I think the answers need to be better. I think us in the 2A community need to realize, like, hold on, everybody. They're homing in on us a little harder than they've been ever able to. We need to start thinking a little bit, and we need to start sticking together a little bit, and we need to start knowing what each other is going to say and be a little more mindful and realize that the heat is closer than it's ever been. So, hey, 2A, let's have a conversation. Let's huddle up and see how we can stick together and kind of get through this thing.
You know, there's a phrase that I'm probably paraphrasing or getting it slightly wrong, but there was a phrase I heard a few years ago, and it was, how do you stop a mass shooting? You shoot back. And it's very poignant. It resonates so well with me, but I live this. Do you think that the politics are a turnoff? You know, because our community is so heavy on politics. Do you think that pushes people away because people hate like they just hate politics? Do you think that's a turn off?
I think a lot of times it is. I think when you put politics and religion in there, I think a lot of times those two things can turn it off. Like one of my buddies, Tony, was talking about recently about how his group of friends would have talks, and their rule is to not bring politics and religion into the conversation. And a lot of times when you don't bring those two things into the conversation first and let people get to know each other, meet each other, and catch a vibe with each other, then if you introduce those things down the line somewhere, then you can maybe, probably have a different situation.
Sure.
Oh, thank you. Okay. Give me a second. So
I think it's kind of amazing to see this culture shift happening, like we've been talking about, and what I think is coming is sort of a mass realization.
mm-hmm.
Perhaps I'm wrong. I've been wrong before, but what I'm starting to feel is kind of an awakening of, I can, in years past, it was, I am a gun guy, and that was it. Like, that was somebody's entire being. They sort of lived around the gun culture. And what I'm witnessing, and I want to hear your feedback on this sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
I think what we're seeing is people taking who they were before and adding the gun culture into that, as opposed to allowing it to be their entire being. Do you think that's a good thing or a bad thing? Do you think it's positive? Will it move us forward?
I think it's a good thing if it's done the right way.
Okay, can you explain? Because I'm curious what you mean by that.
I think some things people may be into or doing may be counterproductive to what they may feel or do in terms of firearms. So
Okay.
It could have been that way with me. So that's what I mean when I say if it's done the right way. I could become an instructor, get into this, and still decide I want to rap a certain nasty, crazy way. And now I got the knowledge of it too. Oh, let me, and now I'm talking about it, and I'm taking something that I've learned and I'm using it in a bad way,
Sure.
so it's done in a right way. And like with me, it may be rap, but with somebody else, it may be a different field or something different. So I think whatever you do, you have to know how to create that hybrid. It has to be a perfect blend of chemicals so that the hybrid doesn't explode and it's able to survive and exist and do what it needs to do.
We have to nurture and grow it.
Exactly. So,
it's our little gun baby. It's our little gun baby. We have to grow that thing.
Yeah, I definitely think though, if you but that's what I mean when I say that, is as long as what you do and what you are into, whether it's your career, lifestyle, is something that once you become a gun person, you're able to mesh them both in a way that's still a positive light in terms of firearms, then I think it's a good thing.
So I have to ask, because it will come up in the comments. I have to ask, what give me your top 3 guns right now, because you're clearly engrossed in all of this stuff. Where do your passions lie with the current market?
Oh my God. It's almost impossible. I'll give you top 3 guns for now.
All right, I like it.
Okay, the two that won't change is, I will say, I won't name all of one type of gun. So I'll say the Staccato XC first. I will say the CZ Shadow 2 Orange. You don't like the CZ Shadow 2?
No. It's it's like excellent gun. All right, what's the third one?
Let me come down a little.
Uh-oh.
Uh,
As long as you don't say Jimenez Arms, I'm good.
no, Glock 43X.
All right, fantastic. That's okay. I like that. Are you getting into rifles more? Those are all handguns. Are you getting into rifles more?
A little bit, not as much. Eddie
Okay.
really trying to get me. He's got me on the hook. He's got me on the hook for about $2,000, and that's another story. But
I think me and Eddie are both going to push you to have more long guns. It's just, you have to have multiple rifles. You need at least an AK, at least an AR, probably in like 10 different calibers. You need a couple shotguns.
yeah, I mean, I got them. I just don't shoot them a lot. Like
Okay.
I probably have. I mean, I'm sure I have over. I have a lot of AKs. Well, no, I have a lot of.
I like you had to walk that back. Like, oh, I'm not going to tell you.
Yeah, I have a lot of ARs. I have some AKs.
Okay.
You know, so I'm into a few things. I recently got the SIG MPX. I grabbed that. You know, so you know, I'm getting into a few things. You know, I just don't shoot them as much, and I would say as much as I want to. So
Well, you're busy. you're quite busy. You're still touring.
Yeah, I'm like, man, I gotta get a range day. I'm like, when you start looking at over 20, 30 guns that you never shot, it's a problem. I'm like, oh no, this is a problem. I gotta shoot these.
Yeah, I have guns that have, I would take them out for a review or something,
Mm.
and then after that they just sit for a very long time. It sucks. It just sucks.
Yeah.
What's it like trying to deal with like being Pro 2A and still touring?
It's been working out, you know. Not able to do a concealed carry class or something like that as much as I want to, but shooting, promoting, marketing what we're doing, it's kind of been something that's been going hand in hand. A lot of times I will go to a gun range in a place that I have a show at, and I might go,
Okay.
and yeah, I'm able to get some content, you know, meet some people at a new gun store or range, do some things like that. So I'm able to marry them sometimes. And, you know, one of my biggest dreams is to mesh them both together, like a rap / gun range tour, you know, where I'm able to hit the town early in the day, do the range with some celebrity friends, a bunch of people in the town, and then later on do the concert. And I'm able to do this each state or city. Like, that would be fun. I want to make something like that happen.
Dude, when you make your way back up the East Coast, when like I'm an hour out of Philly, I would absolutely love to take you out to shoot some extended long range or do some other silly stuff. That would be an absolute riot. What do you think is the next step for your growth in terms of being a pro gun advocate? You're pushing the courses. Like, where are you going with all of this stuff? What's the next step?
The next step for me is to continue actually doing what I'm doing. Some of it, I'm going in a direction that I don't know, which is fun. And then some of it, I know that I want to be one of the biggest advocates. I want to marry this whole thing in terms of what we think about firearms, me in this new life. It's like I look at it like I'm a rapper, and then I came from over here and I jumped into this life. Now, how do I take what I know in terms of like the best of both worlds and marry them together in a way that I can really push for everybody to be able to have guns? So I think one of the biggest things for me to do is to continue training, continue my education, continue learning, so that when I'm speaking to you, the next time you talk to me in a year, say a year from now, you'll be like, wow, he's using this terminology. He says these things, and then when you're talking to me, it'll be more than passion. You'll hear that education. You'll see that passion take me to other places, so that when I'm speaking on it, it'll be more effective, and when I'm able to mix that passion and that intellect with the education and the training and just really push it to people and talk to them, I feel like I'm a pretty good person with my wording, that I can get it across to certain people, not just the lyrics, but
I think I'm pretty good, bro. How many millions of people have heard your music? I think I'm pretty good. I'd fucking say so. So,
yeah.
do you think that going out and touring and sharing this with the celebrity friends that you have and the people that come on tour with you, do you think that is like a gateway drug for them to do something similar?
Definitely, and when you said touring, you made me think too. That's another thing I want to do, is like when we tour, like when I go on stage, I start talking about it. I might perform certain songs. I might bring up certain subjects, ask the crowd what do they think about their right to bear arms, and just go around the country and start that dialogue. And like what you said, I would like to go to the gun range with certain celebrities. When I do my podcast that I'm putting together, it's going to be from a gun range. And I want to be able to talk to celebrities, get their take on the Second Amendment, firearms. Do they own them? Do they shoot? What do they think about them?
Sure.
Ask them their perception of saying certain things in music. Ask them, after this experience, now what are you going to do with your music every time you mention a gun or talk about a certain thing? And then it's going to sound like music to my ears to hear them repeat back. Now that I've had this conversation with you, Twista, I'm not going to say this, or this. Now I know how to say this, and this, so I want to be effective in that manner too.
I love it. I am so excited to see what's next. And I'm excited that I was able to bring this into the TGC audience and share that. I have to ask you a couple questions that are maybe not as gun related.
Okay.
You've been rapping for I mean arguably since the inception of
Forever.
good rap. Like the 80s, the 90s, you've been there. Would you be able to, and I know this is a very difficult question, would you be able to give me, as one of the top lyricists ever, give me your top 5 lyricists out there right now?
My top 5 lyricists out there.
Yeah, who do you like?
I'm going to go off the top like this. Rakim. I'm going to say LL Cool J, Jay-Z, Nas. I'll throw myself in there.
I like that, man. That's a very interesting list too.
Miss Biggie, Tupac, Pharaoh, Cool G Rap, Big Daddy Kane, so it's so many that I missed.
Well, I mean, everybody's got so much flavor that is so unique. When you start talking about the lyricists, and then there's the argument of rap versus hip hop and all of the varying styles of rap, even including the atrocious mumble rap that now exists.
Yeah.
I don't know what that is. I think it's very interesting. I don't understand it.
It's just different styles of rap. Like rap is just like anything else. Sure. It may start as this one new simple thing, but as it grows over time, it starts to change. And rap started as one thing, but then you had the guy over here that wanted to just be lyrical. Then this guy over here wanted to rap about the streets. Then this guy over here wanted to make dance rap. So, I think where they messed up was not early on having rap separated into genres the same way you have music. Why doesn't rap at this point deserve the same respect as music when you say R&B, jazz, contemporary?
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Soul? You see? So rap had pretty much started to morph into so many things that now it became time to say this kind of rap, this kind of rap, this kind of rap. And we started to throw it all into one pot. And then you had people arguing about whether KRS-One sounds better than Ice Cube. And it didn't. Right. It didn't.
How can you have that argument? I mean, how could you? For reference, the type of stuff that I enjoy is very much lyric driven, very much the thing that got me hooked into hip hop years ago, it was from my brother who was rapping at the time, was there was a guy named Del the Funky Homo Sapien, and Del has this really, really, you guys can hear him on Gorillaz album. He has such a unique style that just hooked me. And ever since then, I have appreciated things in a totally, totally different light in terms of lyrical talent. And it's unique, and it's very special for me to be able to sit down with you and talk about that kind of stuff. It's a little embarrassing because I don't know anything, I don't know it like you know it, but
okay, of history, like you just said that. Here's a piece of history. So the Ghetto Boys come out and they got this song. So my mind's playing tricks on me. I'm like, oh, okay. So now I get my opportunity. Boom. I get put on the tour. We're like on the West Coast. So my very first tour that I was on was with me, De La Soul, Ghetto Boys as the headliner, and Del the Homo Sapien.
You're kidding me.
Swear, my very first tour ever.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
Yeah, I love that.
What a cool, like that list of people. Like, wow, what a good fucking lineup. Holy shit.
Crazy. I couldn't believe it. Like, I was like, wow, to actually see them, then get backstage, meet Paz. Oh man, meet the guys. I was like, oh my God. So it was dope.
That's I'm sure you've got tour stories for days. Is there I don't want to, I know you got shit to do tonight, so I don't want to hold you up too much. Is there one thing that you think it's very important for everybody listening to hear?
I would say have fun, share a little humor with the fact that, John just hopped on here with Twista and did a whole interview talking about guns and, our rights and everything. So like, I would say everybody just have fun with this new diverse thing that they're seeing, and definitely keep watching the gun camp. Keep your eye open for the gun camp. We're going to be doing a lot of things. I definitely plan to come to your town and take you up on that offer to go shooting something. Yeah, I want to do that. And I would say, man, everybody keep watching, because I'm about to fuse this into the music. I've done a little bit here and there, made a Jerry Mitchell song, made a few songs, done a little bit, but I want everybody to just keep watching and listening, because I'm about to fuse guns into rap in a way that you've never heard before. You have never heard a rapper do a gun review for a song the way that I'm about to do. To sit there and listen to a hook and be like, damn, this feels just as good as Overnight. He's talking about the rail on the gun, and he's talking about a tack light. So I'm about to drive the shooting community crazy with some music. And I think, we haven't had a soundtrack, so
no, we haven't. No.
Track. That's what I'm going to do. Make that soundtrack for us. And I'm going to keep advocating and, keep helping to try to blow up the people that's around me, which are people in the gun camp, I want to say what's up to Laughing Low, my man Tony right here. That's that hat I'm rocking right there.
I love it.
Yeah, everybody just keep checking me out, man. That's all.
All right. Well, thank you so much. What's the website for the gun camp again? I don't want to get it wrong.
It's www.theguncamp.com.
Theguncamp.com. Guys, please go check that out. They are doing some incredible things, and I can't wait to see what's next. I can't wait to see this community grow and evolve. And that kind of stuff is possible through people like Twista. Twista, thank you so much for giving a shit about us and coming on tonight to chat with me. I really genuinely do appreciate you being here, and it's an honor to sit down and chat with you, brother.
Man, thank you, man. Let me do my drop so you can go back and use it. Hold on.
All right.
What's up? What's up? It's your boy Twista right here, chilling with my man John Patton on the Gun Collective. You dig? Two-way.
That's amazing. That's amazing. All right, guys, that's it. Thank you. We'll see you next time.
Thanks, man.